What is up, beautiful people all around Elohim's green earth? I hope that you're having a blessed day, and I greatly appreciate you for clicking on this video in which we are talking about world economics and this major conference that took place this week that the media does not want you to know about with the BRICS summit in South Africa. We're going to talk about how we are continuing to see these major shifts happen in the global economy, what happened during this BRICS summit, and how we are moving towards a new global reserve currency. We got a lot to talk about in this video, so let's jump right into it.
The Moneypot channel is a library of educational content created from a biblical perspective. The content provided here on the Moneypot is designed to improve viewers' knowledge of world economics and events, cryptocurrency, and much more. Please note that the information provided here on the Moneypot is not considered financial advice.
We are seeing major shifts happening in the global economy, and crazy changes in world economics have been going on lately, especially since COVID. And when I'm referring to world economics, I'm mainly referring to countries importing and exporting goods for their citizens, as well as their trade surplus or their trade deficit. And over the past 30, 40 years, the United States has been importing more than we've been exporting, and that has caused us to accumulate a debt of to the tune of $33 trillion almost. And we are seeing the BRICS nations being fed up with having to utilize the United States dollar in their trading amongst each other. So we are seeing Putin announce that the BRICS nations are going to trade in their local national currencies, and this is going to have huge implications for the United States and the United States dollars purchasing power around the globe. It is very important that we here in the United States understand this, because we have to use United States dollars, and it's important to understand these changes that are happening in the global economy that we're going to talk about, as well as where the future of currency, money, and the global economy is going towards. And the Bible verse for today's video comes from Proverbs 3, verses 25 through 26. Do not be afraid of sudden terror or of the ruin of the wicked when it comes, for Yahweh will be your confidence and will keep your foot from being caught. One of the main initiatives of this BRICS summit and the BRICS conglomerate of nations is economic cooperation. I'm sure that it was said quite a lot during this year's summit, but as dozens of countries apply for membership of the BRICS, not only this year, but into the next year and the years to come, we're going to start to see all the more countries wanting to get off the United States dollar. And what this means for us here in the United States is, we thought inflation was bad in 2022. Well, when these countries dropped their US treasuries, they stopped trading in the United States dollars. We are going to see an influx of dollar bills coming back home, and then inflation will rise.
Sorry.
So let's talk a little bit more about what happened at this BRICS summit and how it is going to affect our lives, and also continue to move us towards this new financial system and the replacement of the United States dollar as the global reserve currency. So first up, let's talk about the expansion that took place in this year's BRICS summit. We see 6 new countries were added to the BRICS conglomerate: Saudi Arabia, Iran, Ethiopia, Egypt, Argentina, and the United Arab Emirates. This is extremely important because 3 of these countries are in the top 10 oil producing nations in the world. This is huge, and this is going to have effects for the cost of oil and also the cost of goods and transportation. This is further giving more leverage to this BRICS conglomerate and making it harder for the United States to hold on to the global power that it once had. And real quick side note, just one of the main ways that the United States has been able to maintain their global power is via the petrodollar, which is essentially the purchasing of oil in United States dollars. Be mindful as I talk about this move off this United States dollar, and this is what the BRICS nations are starting to do. This is another way, this is economic warfare. This is how this conglomerate can give sanctions to the United States without saying we are sanctioning the United States. We know that the United States put a sanction on Russia when they invaded Ukraine. They're probably going to do the same with China when they invade Taiwan. This is how the BRICS fights back with the economic warfare. This BRICS summit is historic in many ways. And don't just take my word for it. Let's see what the president of China has to say about this. We see, he says, this membership expansion is historic. It shows the determination of BRICS countries for unity and cooperation with the broader developing countries. Am I speaking gibberish? Am I speaking gibberish? Do you guys understand what I'm saying? And how these moves at the BRICS summit are setting up, their chess moves, setting up this move off the United States dollar. If you're not understanding what I'm saying, please drop a comment so I can let you know, a little bit more of my perspective on this and, what is actually happening. All right. So at this BRICS summit, we see no new developments coming from the new development bank, and really no admission of any new countries into the BRICS conglomerate of banking, essentially, which is the new development bank. But that is still Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, which are all becoming major economies across the globe. And they make up a huge portion of the total gross domestic product, basically what a country produces. And we are seeing this BRICS conglomerate wanting to get away from the United States dollar. So let's take a look and see individually what each of these countries are doing with their currencies and see if it can give us any clues as to where the new development bank is going to position itself when it comes to world economics, and really how goods are being paid for in what type of currency. So let's take a look and see what these BRICS countries are doing individually. And make sure you stay tuned to the end of me talking about these local national currencies and their move towards digital currencies, because I'm going to tie it into XRP. All right, let's get the party started with talking about China first. We see here, as of June this year, an article coming out on China doubling down on its digital currency efforts. China's central bank is continuing to take aggressive steps towards assimilating a digital yuan within its domestic financial system. This is huge. And China continues to be a pioneer in digital currency development. There are over 300 million people already signed up with China's digital yuan. And in some of my past videos, I've mentioned how China is now partnering with WeChat to allow for the central bank digital currencies to be part of the WeChat ecosystem, which has billions of users. All right? China's doubling down on its digital currency efforts. This is big. And it's telling to where this new development bank will start to think for the future. You think that they're just going to use fiat money when we've got blockchain technology available to us? That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. So let's keep it pushing towards the next big one in the BRICS, Russia. Russia is continuing to test its digital ruble with banks. All right? And we see Putin signing into law the digital ruble in July. This is huge for digital currency, and we're starting to realize that Russia wants a digital currency as well. Mm, mm, mm.
Now let's get into talking about Brazil and India and their initiatives towards the central bank digital currency, but also their relationship with none other than XRP. So let's first talk about Brazil, where we see Ripple partnering with TravelX to launch an enterprise crypto payment service in Brazil. This is huge, and we see this being tweeted out by Ripple in August of last year. This is their first banking partner. And this is the first bank approved by the Central Bank of Brazil to operate exclusively in the foreign exchange market. This is massive, and it gives insights as to where Brazil is with digital currencies, central bank digital currencies, as well as partnering with XRP. So let's get into talking about India, who launched their CBDC in November of 2022, called the Digital Rupee. And this is major because we see, one of the largest private banks in India, Kotak Mahindra, utilizing Ripple for their international remittance payments. Kotak Mahindra is one of India's largest private banks with over 1,300 branches across the country. We got to understand that Ripple is not necessarily going to partner directly with the central bank, but is going to partner with the private banks, the banks that are in the country, to be able to provide the services that Ripple does, that these banks need, that the central banks also will utilize. One thing is clear is that all of the nations in this BRICS bloc are moving towards central bank digital currencies and implementing digital currencies into their economies. Will their banks in their respective countries partner with XRP and Ripple? Who knows? But we know the partnerships that Ripple has all around the globe.
That you're able to find this video informational and beneficial to your perspective as to what happened in this year's BRICS summit. We still are waiting for some announcements from the new development bank, which I believe are going to be huge in understanding, what will be the reserve currency that the new development bank, which is made up of the BRICS nations, is going to use for the trading of their goods. This is huge. And, as we talked about throughout this video, we are seeing major changes happen in the global economy, and countries are getting off the United States dollar standard, which is going to have huge implications for us here in the United States. So we got to stay woke. We got to have a plan in action, ready to be put in action, that is really in line with what these central banks are doing outside the United States, storing up gold, looking into digital currencies, understanding what is going to retain their store of value. Because as we saw with inflation and are continuing to see, the United States dollar is not retaining a store of value. But I hope that this video was thought-provoking for you and helping you understand the times that we're living in. Like, dislike, share, subscribe, do what you do, but we appreciate you. And until next video, make sure that you stay blessed, stay healthy, stay prayed up. Peace.